Since you've been swing trading, you have yet to fully utilize your cash. You've noticed you typically only see about 50 to 60% of your cash. Yeah, it is tough to get fully invested unless you're getting, a whole lot more aggressive. Um, which I normally just recommend that the market have to kind of like force you in through great action instead of, you kind of forcing yourself in. So yeah, it's not normal. In like a really good environment, you can definitely get above 60%. But that's the idea, right? Is that you're waiting for a good environment. Yeah, Ivan, nice job, dude. You'll have noticed a lot of the market gave that exact same setup right around the exact same time. I personally feel like I missed Cypher on the 620 setup, but that's good on you for at least paying attention to what the setup is. So this right here was really nice. I bought A-Lab because it actually triggered well before the market, and so far so good. So far so good. You grabbed a little bit of lemonade in pre-market. Yeah, you're still kind of there's just not enough volume there for me to do anything like that. But you know, lemonade is basically trading out to highs. Very, very nice. No, and you're not I mean you're not gonna catch them all. You're not gonna catch them all. So don't be too mad about that, dude. I added to my Baba yesterday. Very, very nice gap up. Now trading out to highs. Beautiful, beautiful falling wedge. Fantastic action. Hopefully, this thing's out to 200 plus here pretty soon. We've had these pretty big moves, 60%, roughly 55%. I mean, if we can just get a cool 50%, I mean, I don't even know where that would put us. That would put us quite a bit up there, even 40%. 220. Not sure if it was wise to get 7, 8 stocks with 2, 3% each, or just two stocks with. I mean, look, tomato, tomato. I actually, in moments like that, believe it or not, I almost think it's better to cast a wider net. And I actually think what you did was better, right? You get a bunch of little 3% positions, and then if it works, like you're going to be able to cut the ones that aren't working, add to the ones that are, and that I think is a whole lot better. So you're kind of casting a wider net. You're not just like pigeonholing yourself, because what if like you were looking at 6 or 7 or 8 stocks, and then the two that you buy do nothing, but the other 4 or 5 do awesome, and then 1 or 2 of them, are kind of flat. So I would rather just like cast a wider net. You're basically risking about the same amount amongst those names, and then just add to the ones that are working after the fact. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be nice if A-Lab just stops chopping here? But yesterday I thought was really good for the market. Really nice job moving back up, and hopefully the day before that and yesterday was just a bit of a shakeout. So you get a bit of a shakeout, and then hopefully we can start to reclaim here and then get over 630 on the Qs and start pushing out towards highs. I think a name like A-Lab in that scenario with like an AMD could do pretty well. Yeah, I mean, it could be in the other direction, but I've got a nice average on A-Lab right now, so I'm not really too concerned about a kind of move like that, to be honest with you. So we don't have earnings until middle of February, basically, so we should be all right. USAR, for me, not so much, even though super volatility, fine, but not really a name for me. COHR, much better, much, much better. Gapping up in pre-market. Yeah, not bad. NXT is fine as well. I think tan looks great. Yep, NXT gapping up in pre. Oh man, you think that patience was good? I've been in Netflix short since November. What is this? November 19th. 2 months just sitting on the short side. Wish I would have hit a few more software stocks, but do I apply progressive exposure in the way that Livermore describes it? Please elaborate a bit on position sizing. It seems like a lot. Yeah. Well, USIC guys, they're aiming to, have triple digit returns every single year. I'm kind of not at the point where I need to do that to make a ton of money. And I could, with a whole lot less stress, make 40, 50, 60% returns with very, very minimal stress and very little risk to the portfolio. I think USIC guys, right, the draw to be right at the top in terms of performance, which, I got to give them, I have tons of respect for those guys. But you're kind of putting and this isn't always true for all of them, but you're sometimes pushing a little harder than you should. I don't like putting on, big position sizes. I mean, I do, but not necessarily relative to my portfolio. I at once. I like to add to my positions, and that is probably a big key difference, right? I have no problem getting 10, 15, 20, 25% of my portfolio in one position if I had, big confidence in the stock and it gave me multiple setups, even on an intraday, to be able to add, right? If I were looking for the long side, maybe I'm buying a pullback into a prior day high. Maybe I'm buying a reclaim of VWAP. Maybe I'm buying a 5-minute opening range break. Maybe I'm buying a break of the range. Like all of a sudden, I could have a 15, 20% position on this stock in a single day if I wanted. But I typically use progressive exposure. Like let's just say we're coming out of a market correction. I'll take a 10% position and then I'll take another one if my prior position is working and there's more setups. And then I'll take another one and another one, et cetera, on the traction that I have. If I can't gain traction, then I don't go looking for more exposure. So, do I think Sandisk is setting up for a pullback? Short, or a parabolic short. I was kind of hoping for a move to like 550, and then I would tell you yes. I don't know that I'll short that one today. I do like how vertical it's gone to potentially play it as a short, but I'm kind of focused in on the metal sector. So one of the things that I kind of noticed yesterday, and I'm sure some of you guys did as well, was the QQQ started to rip and the metal started to come down. So, my thinking is if the Qs start to bounce here, then money should kind of come out of the metals, but we'll find out if that's going to be true or not. Why not buy on a 15-minute opening range break? I do 5-minute. Tomato. But yeah, on stocks, fast moving stocks like 10% average daily range, you need to get at least, yeah, I normally don't trade too many stocks with a 10% average daily range. Even though A-Lab is pretty close, I do want to have a couple percentage points of overnight cushion and make sure that the market closed well. Why not buy AMD on a 15-minute opening range break? No, this is just I always kind of try to take things down to a still the daily chart, and I could have bought it yesterday. A little bit of hindsight, of course. I really should have bought it on this oops reversal, which this little drop in reversal, and I noticed it in real time, and I just didn't do much about it. Like I noticed the gap down, and I noticed this thing pushing right away, and I probably should have, but hindsight's 2020. SEI, yeah, I tried buying it a few weeks ago, and unfortunately, I got stopped out. I tried buying it on the 9th, and of course, I took a bit of a loss here the next day. So it's the same thing. Like I tried a long in SEI, I take a bit of a loss. I tried a short in AppLovin, I took a little bit of a loss. I would have been right in both. Man, it just sucks being right, but being early. That's just kind of sounds a little bit like my trading at the moment. I think Jazz looks nice. APLD still interesting. Tons of volatility there. So, I'm a little bit more trying to slow myself down on like Cypher and Iron and APLD, but I am noticing the strength in those like young data center stocks, Hut being another, NBIS, CoreWeave, Galaxy, etc. Do I have any thematics for Storm DMG control? I don't know what that is, or recovery from storm stocks. Oh man, there used to be some back in the day. I don't know. I'd have to kind of look them up, but you've got like hey Mr. Man, what are you doing over there? Um but there used to be like OPTT. I don't know any of them off the top of my head. I'd kind of have to scan for them. You've talked about AOI in the past. It looks like, yeah, I like AOI. In fact, this was almost one of them that I bought yesterday on this little morning. Oh, and you're gapping up too this morning. Son of a biscuit. Yeah, this was almost one of them that I should have bought yesterday, 36 and a half. Oh, well. What are the top metal stocks to focus on? I thought one of the ones with the cleanest setup, I had STLD on my watch list from yesterday, the day prior. So, like, you could have bought this as a breakout. Why do I like A-Lab? The earnings and sales are phenomenal. Yes, I understand it's been showing weakness, but so has AMD up until the last 5 days. And then all of a sudden, these things wake up and then start flying and then don't turn back around. When a stock has awesome earnings and sales, I make sure I pay attention to it. And if you kind of look at an A-Lab, although this period is a little bit choppier and even a longer of a base, very similar mentality, right? Where you first have a really big move up from 30s all the way to 140. I mean, you almost can't ignore something like that. But what does the stock do? It falls, right? It falls 60%. And then the stock comes right back up the right-hand side, digests for a little while, and then eventually breaks out. Yes, this digestion was a whole hell of a lot better, right? It was a hell of a lot better. But then it breaks out, makes a 180% move and then falls once again, right? 50%. Then all of a sudden it just starts to digest once again. And my thinking is eventually we break out and then we're looking a whole hell of a lot higher is my thinking. So that's why I'm paying attention to it. Semiconductors still act really well. ASML, KLAC, LRCX, Intel, AMD, you name it. AMAT, if I didn't mention it. So, yeah, I got to make sure that I'm paying attention to the stocks with fantastic earnings and sales. A-Lab fits the bill. I know it's super choppy. So buying pullbacks into ascending moving averages. Sedge, no. I would prefer, Sedge is not going to be one that I trade within the solar sector. Yeah, there's nothing there for me, even though it can very well keep going. I'd rather just own TAN. So you have Sedge, you have Array, and this isn't all that bad. You have NXT as your leader, and NXT, I used to be paying attention to this thing down here. You have NXT, you have FSLR, you have CSIQ. Yeah, and even this. What setups do I trade? So let's start at the top. You have an earnings gap up. You have a high volume close. You have a high type flag. You have a flat base breakout. You have a low cheat setup. You have an undercut and rally. And is that about it? That might be it. If I think of another one, I'll let you know. Yeah, dude, Serenity. I kind of chuckle, but I'm not going to give that dude. All I can do is troll. It's sad because a lot of people believe that. There's some dude on X who said he turned 1,000 into 3 million in 5 days, and it's just anybody who believes that's just a total moron themselves. But doesn't matter. Can I summarize how I sell into strength? Yeah. So I'm looking for compression. And then when you get expansion, I like to trim into that expansion. And then I like to just trail on my ascending moving averages. So expansion for me, usually 3 to 5 days, right? Like nail an entry, 3 to 5 days of expansion. Cool, great. And then some people just like to kind of turn over their edge completely. But for me, I like to, let's just say, stay in half of my position, or 2/3 of my position. And then at that point, it's just a matter of trailing on an ascending moving average, which is exactly what I do, the 10 and the 20 day. And then if something begins to work for a while, the 50 day. And then as you get extended from the 50 simple moving average, so 7 times its average terrain from the 50, I like to sell some more. And then every ATR over 7, I like to trim some more. If the stock then just decides that it's going to up and consolidate, then I don't trim anymore. I just kind of let it, build a brand new base, and then I'm happy to buy some more if I get another clean setup. You were getting chopped up on ALAB and iron yesterday. Luckily, that happens even if you get back to horrible feeling paper cutting when buying something. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. I took ALAB off for some gains, and I did a really, really nice job kind of getting lucky. But trimming some off the prior day at like $183 right in here, or 180. I'd have to look at my prints, but I want to say somewhere in here I was trimming some off, so maybe even 184. And then I didn't have to sit in all of this with my full position. So I actually did a fairly nice job, getting long, adding some more, trimming some off, getting stopped out, adding it back. It's a bit of micromanaging, but the last thing I really want to do is watch a nice green trade, go red. So market is close to being untradeable for you. Yeah, Scotland. It's this chop sucks. I mean, we could use like a serious 15% correction here pretty soon, and that wouldn't even really be that serious, but like we could use a nice long washout, not something that like a tariff panic, right? Like nothing that just lasts a month, something that just grinds people out for like 3 months lower, and we end up 15, 18, 20% lower. That would be like the best case scenario. It's like you can't even get positioned as a swing trader. It's like I'm over here buying Cypher, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with this candle. So it's like I had a nice trade going. I bought some on Friday, I added some on Tuesday, and then all of a sudden I'm taking my Tuesday's ads off, as we're kind of failing for like a 30-cent gain. Had I not done that, I'd have taken a loss overall on the Cypher, and I take the rest of it off, for like a 20-cent loss. So it's like I end up losing money. Effectively a flat trade, but just like tons of these wide range bars, just kind of killing price action, and momentum's not really sticking unless you're trading like a handful of stocks, and trading SanDisk and Micron. Those are far gone. If you didn't catch some of the metals long ago, which, even myself in NEM, I've been slowly just trimming out of my NEM. So there's not really a ton for me to do out here in terms of clean setups. So I kind of feel the exact same way. It's not untradeable, but I also didn't do a good enough job shorting software stocks. So, just kind of sitting in some of these slower movers has been like my best bet, whether it's NEM, Netflix, or ExxonMobil, and still being comfortable playing the short side, but it's been a real pain in the ass. So it's been a real pain in the ass. Thoughts on Tesla? I liked the news yesterday. I want to try to find my way back into that name if we can reclaim the 50-day. Obviously, I did think probably like everybody else that the news was good. Full self-driving works well enough that you get cheaper insurance. I mean, that's pretty good news. So HIMS is in a downtrend. I'm not even going to focus on that one. What about Moderna? Moderna's way too extended. I'm not going to focus on that one either. But if it wants to set up in the future, great. But this is vertical. So I don't really trade vertical stocks. Now we need some sideways digestion. Do you use limit order or market order on smaller cap stocks? Well, 10 billion isn't that small of a market cap. It really depends, obviously, the daily dollar volume that it's trading with. The stock can have a $10 billion market cap, but not be trading enough dollar volume. If you're trading plenty of dollar volume, I can just market order something. IMSR, yeah, there's nothing to do here. There's a reason the stock went from 32 back to 6. What about APLD? APLD in the same group as Cypher and Iron. I'm still paying attention to it, but way too much volatility here to feel comfortable. AOI looks interesting, gapping up overnight. I definitely have my eye on it. I think it looks pretty dang good. $38.38. It's up $1.50 in after hours. Yeah. NBIS coiling. Yeah, NBIS, and you're getting a bunch of gap ups, at the moment. So, do people sell into these gap ups? I don't know. Yeah, I saw that. FTAI almost 300 in after hours. No, Oklo still, until they tell you that they've closed the offering, they're raising like $1.5 billion. So they're just selling paper on the people who are impatient here. Palantir bouncing. I mean, it's below the 50 simple moving average. There's no reason to even be looking at Palantir right now. It's below a falling 50-day. It's like there's absolutely no reason to try and catch this. Just wait for it to get back above the 50. I'll be keeping my eye on Cypher. I don't know that I have to try and buy it again today. I've got other focuses, at least for myself. Plus, I did get kind of lucky, not lucky, but adding to my BABA yesterday. And, we're catching a pretty nice gap up. So when I get kind of lucky like this, I just let some of my positions work before needing to force myself in. Like, I've got plenty of names working at the moment. I bought A-Lab yesterday back on the dip. This is working. I've got some BABA. This is working pretty well. I still have NEM, and I kind of have to manage it with what gold and silver is doing. I'm trying to actively short silver at the moment. Netflix is working, so just kind of managing that. SILJ is one that I have on a short, and I actually nailed this thing at like 36 and change yesterday, so that's pretty good. SLV I also have a short on at the moment, and ExxonMobil I have a long on at the moment. So just kind of managing what I own before really just thinking about continuing to pile into things. STLD was just a little, so there was two spots that I mentioned in the prior night's watch list videos. So over this little 2-day pullback, right over prior day high, and then over Thursday's high. So 175.63. So you could have literally bought this here. So effectively, what does that look like to you? Basically a 5-minute opening range break, right? And then you had about a 1.3% risk to low of day. And this was your close. So a very nice setup, in my opinion. It's been strong. I also thought the other spot to buy this was in here. And then fairly similar for the other steel name, ATI, right in here. And these names have just been very, very steady. Thoughts on WWD? Woodward. This is kind of just channeling higher. There's no setup here. At least not one that I trade. This is just channeling higher, and it looks like we are probably, we're 5 times its ATR from the 50. So just a smidge extended. Even on AMD had a nice trade, but everything else is just getting hit. So play defense. Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't blame you. AMD was one of those that last Wednesday was showing an incredible amount of relative strength. And, this, if you owned it from like this drop and reversal, which again, buying it that last Monday, fine. Like, I don't know, what would have compelled somebody to buy something here, but if you kind of noticed the drop and reversal and then you got long, great. I think that would have been awesome. And then the volatility would have been easier to hold through. I still think AMD looks awesome. We'll see if it can tighten up again, and then the market can kind of go back on easy mode. So maybe the shakeout 2 days ago is exactly what we needed, Scotland. That's my hope. I don't really like UNH just yet. It's just starting to poke its head above the 200 simple moving average. This is good. Obviously, this action the last 2 days will remind you a little bit of the XLV, right? 2 days of action. But it's got some more work to do. There are other stocks that I'd rather own in the healthcare space. CoreWeave needs a little bit of work, but I think looks fine if you bought it, I think it was like a week ago or something. So that's probably your problem. And I'm assuming you're probably in a time zone that, sucks a little bit for trading, but you got stopped out on A-Lab and went to sleep, and now to watch it bounce back and now everything gapping up. Yeah, that's why you can't go to sleep in the middle of your trading day. And we talked about a lot of these things triggering right as it was happening. You had A-Lab triggering a 620 setup, and this is where I bought mine. You had AAOI doing the exact same thing. You had Cypher, all of these names we were watching. You had EOSE. All of these were doing the exact same thing right around the same time. So if you're paying attention, you could have gotten yourself an EOSE around low 16s and had, 3% of risk. And then now look, right? I mean, this is the kind of ideal scenario. AAOI, you could have bought any of these things. So, one of my comments yesterday to one of the guys in the room is, yes, this environment might suck, but you can't just, kind of throw the, hat in, right? You got to just stick with it. And eventually you don't know when the market will turn. It could have very well been that yesterday the market turned, right? I don't know if that's true, but like even my A-Lab, all of a sudden now you're getting a $4 or $5 gap up. I mean, this is pretty awesome. So we'll see what sticks, but you kind of just got to stick with it. I have no idea. I have no idea about that person in the USIC, but you'll have to tell me who that is if you got his name. Baba, fantastic. Yeah, I love it. And I added to it yesterday. So, yeah, so far so good. Let's hope this thing's got like $220 in it. VRT, another nice one. And a nice daily setup too, and gapping up. Wow. Man, everything gapping up. And it's crazy because I have the worst time trying to buy these gap ups. Do I stay away from biotech? Yeah, I typically do stay away from biotech just because you got to know a lot of information about them. So you got to know if they have PDUFA dates. You got to know how much cash they have on hand. You got to know if they have any drug trials coming up. Like, you just got to know too much shit. And I've been in way too many instances, like earlier on in my career, where like I'm up 6 figures on a trade, and then I wake up down 6 figures on the trade, getting caught in an offering. So, you can only get caught in an offering so many times in your life on the same shit group, biotechs, that eventually you're just like, they got to be making money and they got to have accelerating earnings and sales. If they have that and they don't have any upcoming trials or anything that's like, pending and on my radar, then I'm okay trading them. But if I'm going to trade pharmaceuticals or biotechs, I make sure they're like well-established companies like Eli Lilly. My favorite, do I see any entry points to go long home builders? My favorite is going to be Toll Brothers at the moment. I think this one has the cleanest base of the bunch. KBH, let me look. Oh, KB Homes. Nah, KB Homes not as good. TBHC. Definitely not. Throw that one way in the trash. Straight in the garbage, hit it with the shredder, let your dog take a shit on it, throw it out for sure. Don't do anything with that TBHC, dude, whatever the hell that is. What is this crap? Throw this shit out, dude. What is this? KB Homes, I understand. And even that one's not that great. What is that? This, much better. Toll Brothers, you want the best one? Toll Brothers. You want the one that's better than that? BLD. right? BLD broke out already broke out. So can I share how I add to a position? The way I add to a position is I imagine that I didn't own it. Pretend you didn't own it. And then all of a sudden, you will be adding to a position using one of your entry tactics, one of your daily setups. So that's how I add, unless I'm adding intraday, right? Then I'll have to have like a couple of intraday setups. So like if I'm buying a breakout, right, you might get a pullback in the morning and I'm buying, near a key moving average and a 620 setup. Then I might be buying a reclaim of VWAP, might be buying a 5-minute opening range break, might be adding for a break above prior day high. This is if I'm trying to get very aggressive same day to an add. Otherwise, if I'm just like looking for the stock to work on the daily, then I'm looking for a daily setup that I'm familiar with to add. Thoughts on Marvell, one of the laggards. Thoughts on Marvell is one of the laggards in the semi space. TSM on this pullback could be. This one's been one of the leaders within the semi space. In an ideal scenario, this would have come back a little bit further into the 20-day. How do you learn the intraday? I mean, the way you learn anything is you practice. Practice, and you sit there and you stare at your screens and you stare at charts and you look at the leading names and you look at where the move originated from after it got nice and tight, and you look at what could have been an entry tactic, and you just study that. You take it to the smaller time frame, and you learn. You learn. Thoughts on QUBT or Quantum? Seems like it wants to roll over. Yeah, that was my thought yesterday. Obviously, a lot of things bounce with the market. I think QUBT is a massive POS. So Kulamagi refers to buying breakouts only of prices above the 10 and 20 SMA of the overall market. Why don't we apply this to sector ETFs? I think he does. And I don't think that there's as many people who probably understand group and sector strength as much as Christian. So, he does talk about that. I just think everybody, when you listen to him in 2020 and 2021, the focus might have been on the SPY and the Qs, but he was trading, energy related names and lithium stocks. And, he understands group strength. SMCI. Yeah, no, thanks. No, thanks. Why did I short NVIDIA, the best stock in the market? Because it was below the 50 simple moving average. I don't really care what stock it is in the market, right? We could call a stock the best in the market, and yet they still roll over. You remember when Google was once the best stock in the market and then did absolutely nothing, through many, many years of its life and just kind of underperformed, right? The best stocks in the world all go through downtrends. And again, they start by breaking below their 50 simple moving average. CVS, not a fast mover. Thoughts on the setup? Actually, it's not that bad. I don't necessarily want to play CVS, so probably going to leave it alone. You grabbed VRT yesterday in a 620 entry. Yeah, that's perfect. And that's exactly why you don't necessarily want to give up. And this one was another one. Triggers right through here. You could have even bought it as it reclaimed VWAP, and now all of a sudden, you're up $10 a share. How do I handle news-driven volatility? I size down. Just a little bit. You tend to overtrade sometimes. You size down and you use progressive exposure. I feel like I say it all the time. It's how you keep yourself out of harm's way. You keep yourself out of harm's way. How do I trade gap ups? You can do a 5-minute opening range break, and if it's an earnings gap up, then you can do a high volume close if you just wait for it. SCI, nice VCP. Yeah, I'm not going to be trading it. I already traded it, took a loss. I'll leave it alone for now. I own XOM, so. They follow some traditional canceling, but I don't always just buy, maybe the traditional breakouts that are taught in cancel trading. But yeah, I do try to align myself in stocks that have good earnings, but you don't always need them. Guys, my best winner last year was Oklo. And they have no earnings at all. So while I do try to align myself with CanSlim, my best dollar winner last year, right, was Oklo. So what am I going to do about that? If you don't have a ton of time and you live in another time zone, which are the best hours to be focused on trading as a second? I would say if you can, right at the open, right, the first hour, and then the last hour of market close, because you could actually execute right at the close. SHLS or Sedge. So are you asking me how I'd prefer to kill myself? I'm kidding. A little dark. Neither, dude. Neither. Why not NXT? Like, why are we got to go for the charts that look just god awful? Like, why do I got to do this to myself? Why this one? Although this one actually doesn't look as bad, but not Sedge, dude. Not Sedge. Come on. This thing is just hot trash still. Like, it's just not linear. Even when it gets going, it's super choppy. Don't do it to yourself. There's better. NXT being your better. Nice job. That's okay. 3% portfolio position. Now you're working behind some traction. Just wait so you can add some more. Thoughts on FLNC? Not bad for a utility stock. Little bit choppy, but not bad. And of course, gapping up as well. Jeez. Thoughts on InnoData? Starting to what? Bottom base, I'm assuming? Yeah, I mean, still a lot of volatility here. Good, but not great. I mean, I see the little bull flag probably just like everybody else. I don't know. Good, but not great. 620 setups on the 5-minute chart is with EMAs. INCY. Yeah, this one was on my universe list. Not a bad looking chart. Not a bad looking chart. Needs a little bit more work here on the right-hand side. The one that I missed that was also on my radar from the weekend was AXSM. Hopefully somebody caught this AXSM. Very nice. What are the best setups to trade in the choppy market? You buy support and you sell resistance. So buy undercut and rally, sell into the left side peaks. Yeah, Bitcoin continues to act like crap. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. KGC on this pullback? No, there's no setup on KGC, even with this pullback. Where's the setup on KGC? You're going to buy something this extended from the 50. You want to know when and where I was buying KGC? Here. And you want to know probably the even better spot to have gotten long KGC through that flat base in this consolidation. You want to buy KGC up here? No, come on. Do I like RR? It's starting to look pretty interesting for these robotic stocks. RR, you have SYM, and you have Serve. CRS looks good. CRS looks good. Love this little inside day. I don't think CRS is too slow. Love this little inside day. We'll see what happens if it can get going out of this little inside day. The real. I don't really see an explosive setup, man. I just see something that's just kind of grinding higher, right? I'm looking for compression. This isn't really compressing at all. It's just kind of channeling higher. I personally hate channeling charts. I'm looking for compression. You know what made Baidu so explosive? Look at the compression. It made a big move up, and then it started to tighten as you made your way to the right side of the chart. You know what made Baba so explosive? Right? You made your way up, and then you started to compress as you got kind of to your little apex here, right? And that's what makes these things explosive, right? You look at the real, and it's just kind of channeling higher, right? Like, how are you supposed to be explosive out of this? Not saying it can't be, not saying earnings won't show up and it won't give you another nice pop like this, but like, how the hell do I get involved in this thing when there's no compression? I need compression, and you just don't have it. Can you please comment on coin, MSTR, and AVGO? They all look like shit. Yep, simple. Yeah, I think, yeah, that one's pretty self-explanatory. MSTR, coin, and AVGO all look like shit. Yep, as Christian would say, tight is for winners, loose is for losers. Yeah, you want tight, you want compression. Without compression, you don't get expansion. It's like one of those things where, okay, so you guys know like a spring, right? Push a spring down with your fingers, and what happens when you let the spring go? It expands, right? That's exactly kind of what you're looking for. You get compression, and then, once the energy is released, you get expansion. Well, if the stock is just like steadily expanding, right? Like, how the hell do you buy it? You want to buy something that's coming out of compression. And even sideways can be considered compression, but it's just got to go sideways, like the COHR, for instance, right? You get this nice move up, and then all of a sudden you go sideways. This is like your spring, like like coiling back up. You get expansion, and then you get compression, and then all of a sudden you start to get some expansion again. So that's how that works. NXT, another nice example from a few months ago, right? You get expansion, right? You get expansion, and then all of a sudden you start to trade sideways. You get compression, and then you get expansion, and then all of a sudden you're compressed again, and then you're starting to get expansion, and you're compressing one more time, and then some more expansion. Like, that's just how it goes. And it's the same thing, but it looks different in all sorts of ways based on the prior move. The bigger the prior move, the longer the period of digestion it needs. AV had a really nice UNR of the HVC. Yes, it did. Right into the 200 simple moving average as well. VRT was nice. VRT was really nice. For anybody who bought it yesterday, congratulations. Nice job on the gap up too. Again, you get a period of expansion, and then you get some compression, and then you get expansion, and then you get compression. Do you video stream in your Discord? Oh yeah, no, I live stream while I'm at the desk. So yeah, I'm there. I mean, if the market's open, I'm usually available. How do you handle initiating positions before earnings? I just typically avoid names on earnings, for a few days prior to. So if you've got earnings coming up in like, 8 days or something like that, 6 days, I just kind of avoid it. If you're like further than a week out, maybe I can get a little bit of a cushion to get the momentum burst, trim it to strength, and then trail the rest. Otherwise, I just kind of leave it alone. Right? There's no real reason for me to be involved. I'm not really ignoring Intel. I just haven't really had the best spots to get involved on this thing. Right? It's not that I'm ignoring it. It's just I never really got, the spot I wanted. So, unless I bought this thing here back through the 50-day, that was it. Otherwise, if it'll tighten up for me, like, I can't just buy this up here, guys. This would be against all rules to chase something up here. That's 7.5 times its ATR from the 50. Just can't do that. So yesterday was trim day, not buy day. So anybody who's buying yesterday, I mean, God bless you, especially in front of earnings today too. So just not happening. Tesla's close to earnings. How close is the question? This stock normally is never affected by earnings. Wednesday the 28th next week. Yeah. So probably leaving it alone for a moment. What do I think of SIDU? Small cap pump in the right group. Yeah, small cap pump. I mean, really nice explosive move up, 500%, and then you're just hopefully starting to find support at the rising 20, and it'll tighten up a little bit more before it goes, but not really a ton I can do. SATL looks like it's almost ready. Nice cup and handle for a SATL for a small cap. Oof, man. Boy, this thing got ugly. Yeah. I mean, volatility expanding, right? It's just, I don't know, dude. I would leave this shit alone personally. CLS, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. They also have earnings coming up in a few days on Wednesday, same day as Tesla, it looks like. You know what bugs me a little bit? This is where I bought CLS. Oh boy. Woo. Kratos, there's no setup there. KTOS, no setup. I mean, cool, happy to see that it's going higher, but if this thing would have just taken out this neckline for me instead of gapping over, I would have bought this thing 82. Yeah, INCY is not so bad. INCY doesn't look so bad, and neither does a name, like this. I've got a few more. JAZZ looks pretty good. What is it? GRAL doesn't look too terrible. GMED doesn't look all that bad. What is it? GH doesn't look that bad. So you've got a handful of stocks. I don't think INCY is in healthcare, though. So kind of let me look that up because I just showed you a bunch of healthcare stocks as if they're related. INCY is a biotech. Okay, yeah, fairly close. So healthcare related. Thoughts on AMPG? This kind of sucks. It's also super illiquid. You should just avoid stuff like this altogether. AMPG trades a whopping $2 million a day. Dude, I take some positions that are larger than that. You don't really want to be trading stocks that cheap, that thin. This, no, institutions can't buy it because it's just so cheap, right? So you're just not going to get institutional support in stocks like AMPG. TROX, I mean, fine. It's better. It's above the 200. That's great. But where's the setup now? Right? I mean, you can't possibly buy this thing after a 45% move, can you? Oh, Moderna, yeah, I've seen it, but there's nothing really I can do. Geo, I thought was a short way back here, right? You got your move down, then you got sideways compression, and then you eventually broke down and lost the 200 SMA. Yeah, there's nothing to do with Geo. Yeah, I saw NVAX as well. Nothing to do with it. AST, I mean, the sector's great. One of the leading sectors in the market, but there's nothing I can do with it. Right? ASTS, Rocket Lab, KRMN, KTOS, PL. The whole setup needs to reset up, guys. Stocks go up, and then they need to expansion, and then they need to compress. Okay? All we've gotten is up. So where's the sideways? Right? Stocks don't just go up. If you want to just randomly buy something on like a one-day pullback, that's fine, but Godspeed, because over the long term of your career, you're going to eventually hate yourself because that's not compression. Just buying a random one-day pullback on like ASTS or KTOS or KRMN, like one-day pullbacks is not enough. If you own them from way lower, then you just let them work. BFLY. I think I've traded this name before. Yeah, Butterfly. Yeah, I have. Way lower too. Yeah, here you go. This is when I've traded this one. See what I'm talking about, guys? Where we talk about compression, expansion, compression. See how that works? Then you get beautiful expansion. Then it became total dog shit afterwards. And now it just is totally random on the way going up. Is it? I'm not liking the flat base breakout on Real. Where's the flat base? This is just a channel. If this is a flat base, then I got Mr. Unicorn hanging outside of my window. A-Lab over prior day high. I kind of like A-Lab over 185. Take the volume that a stock is trading with and multiply it by the price, and that's your dollar volume. So anyway, guys, got to get going. Hopefully you guys all have a awesome day. Keep it easy out there. Don't do anything crazy, right? It's already been kind of a choppy January for myself as well. So hopefully you guys are all staying safe. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day. Please trade them safely. Appreciate you guys.